Hey guys, today it's a bit of an overcast day here, and I slept in a little bit late today, later than normal. Lately I've been sleeping in late because of the rain. It's almost like it's not worth getting up, so I just lay in bed and just enjoy the morning, just relax a little bit. But today it's kind of like overcast, but it's dry out, so I'm out and about getting my walk. But anyway, today I want to talk about communication breakdowns. And it's kind of a good subject because everybody over here runs into it. Sometimes if we get in a relationship where the girl comes from the provinces, or maybe she just didn't have a good education, didn't learn a lot of English, we're going to run into a lot of problems. Here's why. When you go places and you're having an issue, you need people to understand exactly what you're saying. And that's a good thing. The thing I enjoy most about my girlfriend. My girlfriend was an OFW. She worked over in Saudi. She worked for this princess over there in Saudi Arabia and the family. And she got to speak a lot of English with different people, but she also learned Arabic, and she knows Tagalog really well. And I'm not sure how she learned English. She said she picked it up on her own. But however she picked it up, she learned it. She learned it very well, as a matter of fact. So whenever I get into a conversation with some people around here, it's hard to tell whether they really understand you or not. And here's why. Filipinos sometimes try to be kind in a conversation. And they'll sit there and listen to you, and they might not understand a word you're saying, but they'll keep going. Yeah, yes, oh yes. When you ask them a question, they just kind of go along with it, even if they mean no. Now, when I was I was married to a Filipino before, and I noticed people in her family were always yesing me to death, even when they should have said no. And that's how I started catching on to the communication breakdown thing, because they really didn't understand what I was saying sometimes. Not all the time, but in the beginning it was kind of like that. They would say it until they really got to learn the English language, and then all of a sudden they started understanding and understood no and yes, and when it was appropriate to say them, and all that. But over here, if your girlfriend's not listening to a conversation and it's an important conversation, you might lose out. Because if it's something important that you're doing and these people don't understand, you might be walking into something that might not be good. So that's why it's important to have your girlfriend around these situations. I mean, a lot of times I'm ordering food and stuff like that, and my girlfriend will repeat it to these people over and over again, and they'll still mess up our order just because of who they are. Some of these people that take your orders, they just don't give a damn. You could repeat the order 10 times. I remember walking in, me and a friend of mine who was from Australia, we repeated the order 4 times only to get the wrong order. And they kept trying to upsell me, because they're trained to upsell you, okay? And I was in one of the famous hamburger joints. Probably know which one it is. And I'm in there and I'm ordering and I'm telling the lady, and they're trying to upsell me. I says, no, I don't want that, because they'll give it to you even if you don't want it. They'll add that on, and you can see them typing in all this stuff. And it's like, what are you adding in there? I only ordered like 2 things. So sometimes they mess up your order. It gets kind of out of control sometimes. But anyway, that's just part of living in the Philippines. I got to move here to get some people here coming in here to work. But anyway, that's part of life here in the Philippines. If you don't understand what they're doing, they'll just do it. I've heard many people talk about getting lost in communication breakdowns here. It's just the way it is here. You go to order something, then they give you like a whole bag of it, and no, I only want one, and they're like, they look at you with that surprised look, and it happens. Not a lot. Most of the time I do pretty good around here, but I do worry sometimes. Because sometimes when there's deals going on, or you're dealing with a hotel or something like that, and the person behind the counter, who should be pretty good with their English, because they're going to be dealing with people that are tourists, things like that, sometimes they don't have a clue. Now, a lot of these people, they might have gone to a college out in the provinces or whatever, or someplace far away from where they speak a lot of English. So these girls, they might have a degree. Okay, so they have a degree. So they come to work at this hotel or whatever in a tourist location. And you're talking to them, trying to tell them, you know, that you got a deal or you spoke with somebody over the phone. And they start charging you for different things, you know, higher than what it was supposed to be, what it was over the phone. And you try explaining to them. These are the situations that we run into sometimes over here. It's not often, but be aware of it, you know. The best thing you can do is, if you're not involved with a girl right now, is find a girl that's really good with her English. Because if you're talking to a girl, you might think that she's shy because she doesn't talk much or whatever, when the reality of it is she doesn't understand English. So she might be yesing you to death, telling you all kinds of stuff, you know, with the little English that she knows. But in reality, she might not know English. Just be careful. You know, English over here is kind of key to your survival. And I know we're in their country, and we should be speaking Tagalog to a certain extent. I'll never learn Tagalog. I lived in a Spanish-speaking city for almost 20 years. I could barely speak Spanish. I could speak a little bit of it so I could get along with people, you know. And at one time I even dated a Spanish girl who only spoke Spanish. We actually got along quite well, you know. The relationship lasted a long time. I really got along with her quite well, and she was a nice girl. We managed to communicate somehow despite our language issues. And we got along very well, you know. And one thing or another happened, and she tried to force the marriage issue, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that yet. And she forced it in a way that I didn't like, you know. And I says, look, I says, when the time comes, I'll be ready when I'm ready. And she wanted it right then and there, so I said no. And after I broke off, she wanted to get back together and started apologizing. I says, well, it's too late. You know, I says, you know, when you do something like that to me, I don't like that, you know. And she understood that, even though we had our language differences, you know, because I could speak enough Spanish that I could get the issue across to her so she would understand it. You know, she was starting to understand English a little bit, and I was starting to understand a little bit more Spanish from being around here. We learned a lot off each other, and we still talk to this day as friends. She has a new boyfriend, and she's happy. She had a kid with the boyfriend, and I always look back at that relationship as a learning experience, you know. And I look at it in a good way, because I was very happy with her for the time that I was with her, and she was a very nice girl. And actually, she was actually marriage material too, with the exception she had 3 kids, you know. And that was kind of difficult. That was the part that was kind of difficult. And they were young kids. And I wasn't sure I was ready to deal with that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be dealing with somebody else's kids in the United States, for the simple fact that 3 kids is expensive in the United States. I would have had to been working. She would have had to been working. I don't think it would have been a good life for both of us, you know. In the end, everything worked out, and I'm over here, you know. And it would have interrupted my plans. While I was back there, you know, I saw a lot of things there I didn't like, as most of you guys know. And the United States was surely changing. I didn't know if I wanted to be a part of that anymore. We talked about this millions of times on this channel, you know. And over here, you know, the freedoms that we have over here, especially if we're finding a decent woman over here. Granted, we have our problems over here with women too, you know. But for the most part, I would say about 90% of us are happy over here. Probably 90%, 80 to 90%. That's a pretty good amount. Most of the guys over here, I notice, a lot of them, some of them don't really go after the super beautiful women. And I'll tell you why, okay? Because a lot of those women know that they're attractive, because everybody's letting them know that they're attractive. So the guys usually pick, instead of, I hate to put a woman on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as looks, but if you have a 10, you're gonna pay for it. You know, and sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes the girl's a decent woman. But sometimes there's some women out there that are kind of like hidden gems. They're a good-looking woman, but a lot of people just don't see that. And a lot of the beauty is from the inner beauty. And it kind of shines when you get to know them. And it makes, even if they're, in appearance-wise, they might be like a 7 or an 8, or maybe a 9. To you, they're a 10. Because you know what? You've seen that inner beauty. And it shines on the outside and makes them even more beautiful. And that's in my eyes anyway. Some guys might disagree with me. You know? I think that inner beauty has a lot to do with a woman. You know? Because, like my girlfriend, I mean, my girlfriend's a decent looking woman, but her beauty comes from inside. You know, and the way she takes care of me, the way she looks after me, she's a good woman. She's a good looking woman, and I see things in her that I don't see in a super beautiful woman. I'm not saying my girlfriend's unattractive. It's not that she's unattractive. She is attractive, you know, but to some people she may not be, you know, and a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, you look at the movie Rocky. You remember Rocky's girlfriend, who later became his wife? When you first seen her, she wasn't much to look at. You know what I'm saying? She just wasn't. But when she got all dressed up, had her makeup on and stuff, she was a beautiful woman. And the thing about Rocky's wife was this. It was the beauty that she had inside. And Rocky saw that, you know? And a lot of us are kind of in that situation. We see beauty. I see a lot of expats over here, and they're women. To me, they might not be that attractive, but I can see the reason why they're attracted to that woman, because she's sweet, she's kind, she's just nice, she's family oriented, she's taking care of her man, and the man loves that. I'll take a woman that will take care of me and look after me, and you know, who's a great housekeeper and will take care of things, you know, if I'm sick or something like that, over a woman who's always looking in the mirror and taking selfies of herself. I just will. A good looking woman, hey, they're great to look at, but are they great as far as taking care of your family? You know, let's face it. Some are, some aren't. Every woman's different. But the key is communication. And sometimes those women that aren't so beautiful communicate way better. They communicate through love, caring. You know, the way they look after us. I see some of these women, and when I see them with their man taking care of them, and some of these older guys, you can kind of tell, you know, hey, this girl really loves this guy, you know? I've had friends that have passed away, and I've seen the things I've seen videos of the funerals and stuff like that, and you could see that they really cared about their man. I see a lot of guys on here commenting, you know, yeah, when you die, they don't give a crap about you. They just want the money. You know, that's like the harshest thing you can say to a person. You know, to say that you could care less about somebody when they die, especially your husband or your boyfriend. I'm not saying it's not true, but I don't see that as the truth over here that much as people make it out to be. I think it's a bunch of BS myself. Most women over here, they're caring women. Some women, they've been used and abused by men. And their attitude is justified because of the fact that they've been crapped on so many times that they don't want to be crapped on anymore. And they're just done with men. And it takes a good man to come along and kind of teach that woman that not all men are the same. The problem over here is a lot of the sexpats over here have destroyed a lot of the women over here. They really have. You know, some people might disagree with me and say, well, how do they wreck the women? by using and abusing them and throwing them away like they're a dish towel. And afterwards, they start feeling like that's who they have to be. Or maybe they go the opposite route and say, I'm not going to let a man use me like that anymore. And then the next guy that comes along that sees this girl and likes her and sees her beauty suddenly is the next victim of everything that the guy before has done to her, because it starts pouring out on this guy because she thinks he's going to be like the former boyfriend. We kind of pay for that. You know, when I came along in my relationship, I saw a little bit about that. Not too much. My girlfriend was pretty smart. She's smart. She has a good, let's see, they have IQ and then they have EQ. She has a good EQ, you know, emotional quotient. She understands people. Not always. Filipinos kind of have some weird ways of looking at things. Let's face it, they do. But, you know, in the long run, if we communicate with our loved ones and with our girlfriend and the people around us, and we have somebody there to help communicate, we can kind of communicate anything we want through people. Sometimes it's as simple as a hug. Sometimes it's as simple as having somebody there, letting the person know that you're kind of communicating with, that, hey, this is the way it is. He's trying to explain this to you, you know? And communication has many paths. Sometimes it's through language, hugs, doing something for somebody, whatever, you know? But in relationships, communications have to be strong. If they're not strong, you're going to have big communication issues, you know? And that's where relationships start breaking down. Sometimes when your girlfriend's giving you a hard time and she's giving you tempo, that's a communication breakdown. And you need to tell your girl or your girlfriend, and we've talked about tempo before. Tempo is a big issue. If a girl's doing tempo a lot, it's time to move on. I don't put up with tempo. Some guys say, I'll deal with it. It gives me a couple days of quiet. But it's not good for communication, nor is it good for your relationship, because it makes her even madder. And it's just going to end up blowing up in a big way later on. And it will, you know. Tempo is very bad. It's very bad for a relationship. Make sure you have a talk with your girlfriend about tempo, that you won't tolerate tempo in no way, shape, or form. It's not worth it. If your girlfriend is that immature that she's going to go into tempo mode, tell her to get lost. You know, that's my words for that. Because after you get married, if you get married, the girl starts throwing tempo out, even though you had to talk with her when she was your girlfriend, you're a goner. Because she can pull that whenever she wants. What are you going to do? You know, you leave, then you have to get an annulment. You have to lose half of everything you own or more, possibly a house. You know, make sure you don't put up with that stuff. That's a big communication breaker right there. That can kill a relationship. Surely, it will. Trust me. Anyway, guys, I want to talk about this a little bit. Make sure you have a good communication with your girlfriend. Make sure she understands you. Also, everybody that you're talking to, make sure that they really understand you here in the Philippines. Some people don't. They'll say yes, yes, yes. I have a girl, she lives in my house. She's 16 years old. Her name is Kikai. We took her in, we kind of adopted her into the family. We're going to help her out, put her through college. We've had a couple of other people in the family. They didn't work out for one reason or another. The girls just weren't serious enough about college. So we just told them, you know, go back home, you know, because I'm not going to waste my money on college with somebody that's just going to be all about boys, you know, and that was part of the problem, you know. And I didn't want a girl getting pregnant in my house from some boy and then have to be dealing with that instead of putting her through college. We're going to be paying for a baby, you know. So we sent her back home to the mom, and that was done. But we have another girl. It's actually the sister of the other girl. She's a little bit more serious. She's also a little bit older. She's 16, and she's a smart kid, but sometimes she doesn't understand me. I'll ask her questions, and I know she should be saying no, and she's always saying yes to me. And I'm like looking at her like, or sometimes it's just the opposite. She's always saying no when she should be saying yes. And I kind of get lost with her, so I was wondering if she really understood me. And my girlfriend corrected me and says, Steve, she don't even understand what you're saying. I'll tell her. So she told her. And sometimes I think she's I think she's a lot smarter than what she is as far as English. And I give her the benefit of the doubt when I shouldn't be. And that's what I mean about communication here. People here will tell you yes or no, or they'll answer what they think you said, and then you're kind of baffled by their answer because they didn't understand you. So make sure if you're having a big conversation that's important, where money is involved, a lease, rent, any of that stuff, that your spouse or your girlfriend is there, and your spouse or girlfriend understands you. Okay? Have a long talk with her. Try to find a girlfriend that will be there for you to protect you. That's one thing I know about my girlfriend. My girlfriend's got my back 1,000%. And that's one thing I like about my girlfriend. The other thing I like about my girlfriend is this. She'll tell you where the dog died when she's mad. And she will, But I don't mind that. I'll accept that. Sometimes she goes a little bit overboard, with it. But I'm okay. I'm still living, She gets a little bit pissed off at me sometimes for stupid things. And sometimes I just have to, put my foot down a little bit just to let her know that I'm not going to put up with something, But overall, we love each other. It's okay, I actually like having a strong woman in the house, because I've kind of backed down a little bit as I've gotten older, kind of mellowed, and I told her I wanted her to more step up to the plate. I'm getting older. I've worked 2 or 3 jobs all my life. She knows that. And I told her, I says, now I want to step down a little bit and start resting and relaxing. I had to communicate that to her and let her know that I wasn't always going to be there to help out and do things because I just don't want to anymore. Do I still do things around the house? Hell yeah, I do. But a lot of times I just say no, and she understands me, Now it's my turn to relax and do what I want to do. My hobbies, my things like that. Is that selfish of me? No, because I communicated it to her in the beginning. She understands that. And she benefits too. She benefits because she has all the money and stuff. Is it a little bit selfish? Some might say it is. But as long as she's okay with that and I communicated it to her, then that's all right. I put my daughter through school and, she appreciates that. And it's her daughter, but I consider her my daughter too. I sent her to school for nursing, and I do a lot of things for both of them and for the little boy too, and that's a big plus for all of us in the family, because when my daughter and her daughter go off to, when she goes off to start working, if we ever need any help or anything, she's going to be there for us. It's important to both of us. And if God forbid I ever kick the bucket, I know my daughter can support my girlfriend. Sooner or later, she'll be my wife. And I want that to be there for her. It's kind of like giving her like a social security program, to help her out. So that's a good thing. There's a lot to be said for putting somebody through school here, especially for nursing, especially if it's a daughter or even a son, if he's willing to go off to school for nursing. It helps the family, especially if they send them to the United States. At least if they can send a little bit of money to their mother after you pass away, you're good. My girlfriend would be well off if something happened because of her daughter and all the stuff that I'd be leaving her. She'd be very well off. She'd be in a good spot. She would be happy, maybe not with the loss, but she'd be happy financially, and that's a good place to be. But everything is about communication. Treat people good. That's communicating sometimes. Shows them that you love them. Communication goes a long ways in this world. Good communication. Anyway, guys, I just want to touch on that a little bit. It's something that's very relevant. It's very relevant in the Philippines, and you have to kind of always have a relevant life. And I want to kind of impress that upon people that are coming here. This is that we need to be relevant all the time. You know, relevant to people who we love and relevant to people in our lives. And communication is that key to being relevant. You know, and we also need to keep those people happy in our lives. That's key too. If those people aren't happy, communication breaks down because they're upset. Maybe with good reason. Make sure you keep people relevant in your life. Make sure they know that you love them, care for them. You're going to be there for them. It's all a part of communication. God bless, guys. Take care. Love you guys.